ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी आश्रितादेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। पूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिर्कोकिलम्। वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितामनचारिणा शृण्वन् रामकथानादं को न याति परां गतिम्। यः पीबन् सततं रामचरितामृतसागरम् अतृप्ताश्रं मुनिं वन्दे प्राचेतशामकल्मषम्। यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमास्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनम् मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम्। वेद वेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदस्प्राचेतशादाशि साक्षात् रामायणात्मना। श्रीराम जय Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
It's good to see a great turnout. I was not expecting this many people to come today, actually. So that's good in one sense that devotees are interested in listening to Ram Katha and glorifying the Lord. So I'll do my best to make your Sunday evening worthwhile. Hopefully Ram Katha is enough, but let's see how we go. So yesterday we discussed, I think it might be a bit too loud. Can you reduce the volume of the mic? Yeah, so yesterday we discussed the beginning of Sundarakanda. So we discussed why Sundarakanda is known as Sundarakanda. So I gave 3 reasons why Sundarakanda is known as Sundarakanda, or the most beautiful episode of the Ramayana. And the reasons are, first one is mentioned in the commentary to the Ramayana, where it is said that Sundarakanda is essentially the exposition of what the Supreme Lord in Vaikuntha thinks. So the same feeling that Lord Ram has, or Lord Vishnu has in Vaikuntha, the same feeling that he expresses in this material world is expressed in the Sundarakanda. So for example, we spoke about how the Lord Vishnu in the spiritual world, he feels that there are so many jivatmas that are suffering in this material universe, and how can he redeem all of them and bring them back to him in Vaikuntha. So similarly, the same thing happens in Sundarakanda. So Lord Ram sees that Sita is in the Ashok one, or in Lanka, and he wants to send a message to Sita through Hanuman to essentially reassure her that he is going to come and save her and hold on to life in the meantime. And ultimately, Lord Ram comes and rescues Sita from this material universe, or from Lanka, essentially, you could say. So this was one of the reasons why this canto, or this kand, is known as Sundarakanda. The second reason why this kand is known as Sundarakanda is because this is the only only canto in Ramayana which is named after the devotee of the Lord, whose name is Sundar. And Sundar is none other than Hanuman. Hanuman's childhood name was Sundar. So this is the second reason. And the third reason is that everything in this canto is beautiful. So Sundare Sundaro Ramo, Sundare Sundari Katha, which means that Rama is beautiful, Sita is beautiful, Sundare Sundari Sita, Sundare Sundari Lanka, which means that Lanka is beautiful, Sita is beautiful, Ram is beautiful. The message that Ram sends to Sita, that is beautiful. The one through whom this message is sent, the messenger himself is beautiful, who is none other than Hanuman. So what is not there in this canto which is not beautiful? Everything in this canto is ultimately very, very beautiful. So yesterday we discussed the events that lead up to Sundarakanda, which is that Hanuman realizes that he has a lot of powers, and which again he knew but he forgot about them because of a curse. And then when Hanuman realizes that he has a lot of powers, he essentially decides to make a show of his powers to everyone and test them out. So he tests out his own powers to see how powerful he is. He parades around the southern shore of India, and then he makes his leap across. And I'm sure the kids would remember how he makes his leap. So he makes a leap like a rocket, or like a plane? Like a rocket, that's right. So he jumps exactly like a rocket. So then when he makes that leap, he encounters 3 obstacles. Do you remember the names of the 3 obstacles? Mainaka Parvat, yes. Simhika is the third one. Second one was? Surasa. Surasa was the Nagamata, or she was the mother of the snakes. So the first one was Mainaka, which was the mountain, and that was sent by the demigods, or that was essentially sent by Vayudeva, or you could say Varun Deva also, because they essentially wanted Hanuman to rest before he goes. So that wasn't really an obstacle as such, it was more of a friendly gesture, which sometimes can be an obstacle, but if you know how to deal with it properly, then it's not really an obstacle. So that was the first one. Then the second one was Nagamata. Nagamata was sent by the demigods to test the valor and strength and intelligence. So there it is described, Vayuputra Sabuddhiman, which means that the son of Vayu was very intelligent. So using his intelligence, he was able to overcome that obstacle also. Then the third obstacle was Simhika. Simhika was a demon. So how did Hanuman defeat Simhika? He took the name of Lord Ram, Jai Shri Ram, and he punched Sevika and dropped her dead. So that's the third type of obstacle. So third type of obstacle is the proper demons and proper atheists that we may encounter in our path to bhakti. So them you have to defeat using the name of Lord Ram. You can't use any other weapon. Hanuman had immense strength, but we may or may not have enough strength. Yeah, I'm speaking for myself. So yeah, there are people like that. So then we discussed how Hanuman then he reaches the shore of Lanka. And when he reaches the shore of Lanka, he sees that, wow, this Lanka is very well fortified. Lanka has very nice fortifications. Fortification just means the walls around Lanka. And the walls of Lanka were made with gold. It was very, very splendorous. But outside, so to enter, let's say you're coming back from India, you're coming to Australia. And if you have to enter Australia, you have to clear your immigration customs. So like that, there was an immigration and customs officer for Lanka, whose name was Lankini. Yeah, I'm glad people did their research and found out that the name of the immigration officer was Lankini. So as Hanuman, so does anyone remember what size Hanuman took before he went in? Size of a cat. That's right, yes. So that is described. So Valmiki compares Hanuman's taking the form of a cat or the small size to how Lord Vishnu took the form of Bali. So Lord Vishnu, who is the Almighty Supreme Lord, he took the form of a small dwarf to re-establish Dharma. Similarly, Hanuman, who was so huge and so great when he was flying across, he took the form of a small cat, it's described, to again establish Dharma. So same principle is there. That's why Valmiki Ramayana is great, because Valmiki uses very, very apt and very, very good examples that you will see later on. We'll discuss some examples today also. You will see how, you'll see the greatness of Valmiki, if nothing else. So, as he was going, so when Hanuman wanted to enter, he noticed that there was a huge trident that just got stomped right in front of his face. So, Hanuman got scared, he looked up, and then he saw there was a huge demoness, who was Lankini. She was standing in there. So she was saying, what are you doing here? What is your work here? So Hanuman, he said, well, see, I'm a monkey. So I was just in India, and then, I saw some advertisements there. There were some advertisements about, please visit Sri Lanka, tourism. So I came to see Sri Lanka, that's pretty much what I came to do. You were advertising about the flora and the fauna there. So I just came for immigration. In the immigration card, you have to take purpose of visit, tourism. So yeah, he was like, yeah, I've ticked tourism there. She was like, are you trying to fool me? She says, don't you think I'm don't you see that I'm the immigration officer? Don't you see that I am a very strong demon and I can literally destroy you now? You're trying to mess with me? So she essentially took her fist and then she hit Hanuman on the head. She punched him in the head. Now, if this was 1940s India, then people might say, oh, if someone slaps you, then you should turn your other cheek. So that, then that way you can, you have to preach non-violence. So, but Hanuman didn't really believe in this philosophy of non-violence. There are also, people also say, an eye for an eye makes the world blind. Yeah, Hanuman wasn't really a believer of that. So Hanuman, when he got punched in the head, he was like tit for tat. It was that kind of philosophy. So he jumped up and he took his fist and he punched Lankini straight in the head as well. Completely blasted her, and then she fell down as well. Now when she fell down, she suddenly remembered what was her previous life. You might be surprised, how is it possible that once you get punched, you remember your previous life? To explain this, I'll give you one example. When I was in grade 8, I was in India, and at that time I was going for my computer science exam. And we had to do some programming, so C+ programming. So as I went to the computer and I started working on that computer essentially just froze. It was not working. So I called my teacher, I said, teacher, this computer is not working. So he came in, he just gave it a bang, just hit it. And then the computer started working again. But then the teacher could have stopped there, but he didn't stop. I think maybe he fought with his wife or something, I don't know. He just kept smacking the computer. I'm like, well, okay, great. Now it was working, but okay, thanks for that anyways. So similarly, when Hanuman punched this Lankini on the head, she also remembered her past life. She remembered that once upon a time she used to live in the higher planetary systems, like in the Swargaloka. And over there, somehow or the other, because of some of her mistake, she got cursed by Brahma. And due to that curse, she was meant to be born as the immigration officer in Lanka. So she was very sorrow, and she said that, I can't live in this life, and I can't live in Lanka forever. I want to come back to the heavenly world. So please give me some way out of this curse also. So then Brahma says, okay, that's fine, don't worry about it. He says that once a monkey of great valor comes and he punches you in the head, you will remember everything about your past life. And once you remember that you were a member of the heavenly planets, then you will be able to come to the heavenly planets. I will personally come and take you back. So then Lankini said, okay, goodbye Tata, like I'm going. Thanks for reminding me that I am not a member of this Lanka and that I am a member of the heavenly planets. But before going, she blessed Hanuman. She said that, I'm very pleased with the fact that you reminded me about my past life. So I bless you that you will be able to see Sita and you will be able to reunite Rama with Sita. So even she knew what was going to happen essentially. So then Hanuman goes inside Lanka. So does anyone remember what the time is around in Lanka at this time?
5:30 to 6.
5:30 to 6, yeah. So it's around evening time. So it's so when Hanuman enters, he sees that the kingdom of Lanka is very, very glorious. Like he sees that, the walls, as we described already, they're made of gold. And the singers are singing very nicely. The dancers are dancing very nicely. The Brahmanas, they were reciting Vedic hymns very nicely also. So in Lanka, even though it was ruled by Rakshasa, Vedic hymns are recited also. So you should not think that if Vedic hymns are being recited, it cannot belong to the demons. Yeah, it could still belong to the demons. So that was happening. The air was very fragrant because they used to sprinkle rose water everywhere. And the smell of agarbatti or incense used to fly around as well. So it was very, very glorious, very nice appearing Lanka. So now you might wonder, how did Ravana acquire this Lanka? So if you want to understand, so does anyone have any idea how did Ravana get Lanka?
Because there's this architect called Vishwakarma.
Vishwakarma?
Vishwakarma.
Yes.
And he asked him to build it.
Kind of. You're half right. Very good. At least you've been doing some reading, which is good. But to actually explain to you the history of how we get how Hanuman got Lanka, I'm going to share with you this. Oh, sorry. How Ravana gets Lanka. What did I say? Oh, okay. No, sorry. I mean, how Ravana got Lanka.
I think from Shivji.
Huh?
From Shivji.
Yeah, people also think that he got it from Lord Shiva. But actually, that's not the case either. Some people say he got it from Kubera. Yeah, okay. You're all partially right. But let's see what Valmiki says. If this works. I hope it works.
No, I think it's gone off.
Is it?
Smack.
It's there.
Not hard enough.
No, I think it's gone.
No, it's coming.
Is it?
Gone again.
No, I think that smacking only works in
No,
previous
you were
ones.
about to smack and it came up.
Maybe just plug it and plug it out.
Maybe I'll unplug it and unplug it again.
Yes, it's there now.
Now?
It's like a naughty boy, Hanuman. There you go.
No, I don't think it'll work. Oh, that's a bit disappointing. Well, I'll just tell you the history anyways. I thought if I show you the image, it will make it a bit easier. Because there's a huge family tree with this. So, well, I'll just tell you anyways. So it's probably not going to work. If it does work, just let me know. So, once upon a time, Lord Brahma, he had two sons.
It worked.
Did it?
No, it.
Is your computer on?
Yeah, computer's on. This does play out every now and then. Okay, that's alright. Okay, I'll just leave it. It's alright. Okay, so Lord Brahma, he had two sons, actually. Lord Brahma had lots of sons, but these two sons were instrumental in the rise of Ravana. So, these two sons were known as Heti and Praheti. These Heti and Praheti, when Lord Brahma was creating the universe, they actually were causing all kinds of disturbance to Brahma because they were very hungry. They wanted to eat. So they're constantly bothering Brahma, like, can we have something to eat? Can we have something to eat? So Brahma got very annoyed and he cursed them. He's like, go away, you guys are annoying me when I'm doing something so important. I curse you to both become demons. So when this curse was pronounced on them, Praheti, who was the elder brother, he thought that, I don't want to live my life as a demon. So he goes into the forest and he performs tapasya. But Heti, he succumbed to the curse. So he essentially started to slowly become a demon. And because he started to become a demon, he had a son and then he had a grandson. The grandson's name was Sukesha. Now this Sukesha had 3 sons. You might have heard these 3 sons. These 3 sons were Malyavan, Mali and Sumali. So these 3 sons were these 3 brothers were very closely knit. They were very close to each other. And they were performing austerities one day. They performed austerities to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma became very pleased with them. So Brahma told them, what boon would you like? They said, well, we would like to have mystical powers. Like we can vanish away at any time, we can become invisible, and then we can become visible at any given time. We want that boon. And the other boon that we want is that we want to have such a close bond between us 3 brothers that this bond will never break. So then Lord Brahma said, that's fine, okay, I grant you that boon. So when they acquired this boon, they went to Vishwakarma and they asked Vishwakarma to make them a city. So then Vishwakarma said that, back in the day, I made a golden city called Lanka for Indra. But Indra has some status issues. Indra will not come down to this earth to live. So Indra said that if you want to make something for me, you make Amravati for me instead. So Amravati is the place where Indra stays. So then Vishwakarma instead constructed Amravati and then he left Lanka. So he said, okay, Lanka is as it is, just leave it. So he said this Lanka is inhabited. So if Malyavan, Mali and Somali, if they want to live there, they can go and live in this Lanka. So then they accepted this offer and then they go and they start living in this Lanka. Now they realize that they have a lot of power. So they go up to the demigods, the Indra and all the other demigods, and they start bothering them and they start terrorizing them and start having a war with them. So the demigods, they become very scared because their power is quite intense. So the demigods go to Lord Vishnu and they seek shelter at the feet of Lord Vishnu. So when they seek shelter at the feet of Lord Vishnu grants them the boon that, I will come and protect you, don't worry about that, that's fine. So when the demons hear about this, Malyavan actually becomes a bit worried. He says that, this Vishnu is very powerful. Vishnu has already killed Hiranyaksha and he has also killed the demon called Kalaneni. So he says that he could very easily kill us because Hiranyaksha and Kalaneni were much more powerful than us. So if Vishnu has killed them, he could easily kill us also. So then at that time, Somali says, no, don't worry about it, it's fine. We don't have any personal animosity with Vishnu, so Vishnu won't come and attack us. We'll find the demigods and then Vishnu won't interfere, that's fine. I don't know why people always have this misconception, even though Vishnu always takes the sides of the demigods, but still, that's why they're demons, their intelligence is not very bright. But anyways, they decided that, okay, now it's time to attack the demigods. So they took the fight up to the demigods and they started fighting. But behold, Lord Vishnu appeared on Garuda. So when Lord Vishnu appeared on Garuda, there was a huge battle that took place. All the demigods and the demons are fighting with each other, killing each other. And then there's Malyavan and Somali, all 3 of them, they try to attack Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu becomes very angry and with his Sudarshan Chakra, he chops off the head of Mali. Now because of that, Somali and Malyavan, they become very scared and they run away from battle. So because of that, the war was won by Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu secured the kingdom of Amravati for the demigods. Now Somali and Malyavan, they became very scared. They said that if we keep staying here in this place, in Lanka, then Vishnu and the demigods can come and find us. So we have to go and hide in the lower planetary systems. So they then go and they hide in the lower planetary systems. Now at this time Lanka is empty. There is no one who's living there. At the same time, there was another sage called Pulatsya. I'm sure all of you would know Pulatsya. Pulatsya is the same rishi who brought down Govardhan, the mountain Govardhan. So Pulatsya had a son called Vishrava. And this Vishrava was also a very virtuous saint. So Vishrava had married another Gandharva lady whose name was Ilavida. And they had a son called Kuvera. Now Vishrava thought that, if this Lanka is empty, then I will take my wife Ilavida and Kubera and we will live in Lanka. So they go and they start living in Lanka. At the same time, one of Somali's daughters, whose name was Kaishiki, see, that's why I wanted to have this PowerPoint, so that I could show you the family tree. But that's fine, for those of you who are in the group, I'll just share with you this PowerPoint so that you can look at the connections later anyways. But yeah, this Kaishiki, who was the daughter of Somali, she approaches Vishrava and she wants to marry him and she wants to have kids with him. Now the problem was that Vishrava at that time, he was engaged in performing an Ashwamedha Yajna. And you know Ashwamedha Yajna, how long do Ashwamedha Yajnas go for? Does anyone know? 1 year, yeah. So Ashwamedha Yajnas last for 1 full year. It's not that, like sometimes when we do Sudarshana Homam or something like that, like it goes on for 3 hours and people are like looking at each other and looking at the time, like, oh my god, like this is taking so long. Or class goes 5 minutes over, we're looking at the time, like, oh no, when will I get prasad? But Ashwamedha Yajna is performed 365 days of the year and it is performed from sunrise to sunset. And during this time, the person who's performing the Ashwamedha Yajna, he does not go back to his palace. He has to stay on the sacrificial ground. And he has to sleep on the sacrificial ground also. So it's a very, very austere performance, Ashwamedha Yajna. And at that time, you cannot make any mistakes in terms of sleeping at the wrong time, eating at the wrong time. Everything needs to be done at the proper time. So he was performing this and he said that you have approached me at the wrong time. So he said because of that, he said, all of your children that will be born will be demons. So then this Kaishiki, she became very scared and she said that, no, I don't want my sons to become demons. Can you please do something to counteract that? So then Vishrava said that, okay, well, the only benediction that I can give you is that your youngest son will be a virtuous man, will be a dharmatma. So then in due course, Vishrava and Kaishiki, they had 4 children. The eldest of whom was Kumbhakarna. The second one was Ravana. The third one was Surpanakha. And the fourth one was Vibhishana, who ultimately became a dharmatma. Vibhishana eva dharmatma. So this Surpanakha says that Vibhishana was the dharmatma. Now it's described that because of a curse that Parvati had placed on the demons, whenever they conceived, they would have a child straight away, and that child would grow up to the adult size straight away. So when Kumbhakarna was born, immediately he had a huge appetite. So he started devouring humans and started devouring animals. So when the demigods saw this, they became very scared. They thought, like there needs to be some way to control these demons. But the problem was that these demons, as soon as they were born, they decide to go and perform austerity. They go to the mountains and they start performing austerities to please Lord Brahma. What happens is with them, their mother, Kaishiki, she also goes. And one day what happens is that Kubera, he comes in his Pushpaka Vimana to visit his brothers, his half-brothers, because they're both the sons of Vishrava anyways. So Kubera comes in his Pushpaka Vimana. I had trouble saying this last time also. So I'll just call it the Vimana. So he comes in his Vimana and like Ravana and Kaishiki, everyone is looking at this Vimana, like this aeroplane is like so huge, it's so great. Just to give you a size of this aeroplane, essentially this aeroplane housed all of the monkeys. So when Lord Ram was going back to Ayodhya, he took all of the monkeys in that aeroplane and he went back to Ayodhya. So you can imagine it was much, much, much bigger than HMAS that you have in Australia, like that ship. It's much, much, much bigger than that because it could house all of the monkeys also. So when they look at this, Kaishiki, she tells her son Ravana, she says that, like, why don't you have a Pushpaka like that? You need to have a Pushpaka like that also. So then he says, well, it belongs to my half-brother, like if I want to use it at any time, I can use it also. She says, well, let's see if your brother will share it with you, etc. So then they continue to perform austerities and then Lord Brahma, he becomes very pleased with their austerities. Well, it's not that Brahma became pleased, but he got scared that if they continue to keep performing austerities, they'll become even more powerful. So it's better to give them their boons now. So then at that time, they received their boons and Ravana asked that, like I want to be immortal. So Brahma said, I can't make you immortal. How can I make you immortal? So, because I myself am not immortal. So he said, okay, well then I want a boon where I cannot be killed by the Gandharvas, by the Devas, by the Kinnaras, by the Yakshas, by the asuras, etc. While he was saying that, he forgot about the men and the monkeys. So he said that, yeah, I don't really worry about the men and the monkeys because I eat them for breakfast, lunch and dinner. So he said, I'm not really worried that they will kill me. So he said, by Nara and by Vanara, I don't care about them. So Lord Brahma said, okay, that's fine, I will give you that boon, that's okay. So then Kumbhakarna came. Now Kumbhakarna wanted to ask for a boon that he could also terrorize the whole world. But the demigods were very much afraid that if Kumbhakarna essentially asks for his boon, then the whole universe would get destroyed and no one would have enough power to stop him. So then at that time the demigods, they summoned Saraswati, who is the consort of Lord Brahma, to come and sit on Ravana's tongue, Kumbhakarna's tongue. So instead of asking for a boon to become the most powerful person, there's a slip in his tongue and there's a change in the Sanskrit. And instead he actually asked for a boon to be able to sleep for 6 months. So as soon as he uttered those verses, Lord Brahma said, Tathastu, I grant you this boon. And then everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They were all very much relieved that, at least Kumbhakarna will be sleeping for 6 months now. So then Ravana said, this is not fair. You demigods have cheated my brother, and because of that you have, my brother is going to sleep for 6 months. So he was like, if you don't make any adjustment now, I will terrorize all of these worlds. So he was blackmailing Lord Brahma. He said that if you don't make an adjustment because of this, I will terrorize all of them and I'll destroy the heavenly planets. So then Lord Brahma says, okay, I'll make an adjustment to this curse. So he said, I will curse him to still sleep for 6 months. But one day after the 6 months, he will be able to wake up and he will terrorize all of the worlds, all of the 3 worlds. And then after that, he'll fall asleep again for 6 months. So he sleeps for 6 months, then he wakes up for one day, and then he sleeps for 6 months. Now some of you might be thinking, wow, what a life. And he gets to sleep for like 6 months. Wow, that's so good, so amazing. But yeah, he was not very happy because he wanted to enjoy and terrorize all of the worlds. So then Vibhishana comes, and then Vibhishana asks for a boon. So Brahma says, what boon would you like? He says that, may I always remember the Vedas and the teachings of the Vedas throughout my life. So Lord Brahma says, yes, I can certainly grant you that, because Brahma is the original creator of the Vedas, so to speak. Create, you can't say create, but he's the one who manifested the Vedas. So he said, yeah, of course I can give you that. But he said, on top of that, I'll also give you one more boon. He says that my other boon that I'm giving you is that you can also summon the Brahmastra, or the Brahmas, like Brahma's nuclear weapon. He said you will be able to summon that and you will know the mysteries of how to stop it also. So you can have this benediction from me just as an extra benediction. So then when Ravana, Kumbhakarna and these guys, they become so powerful, then Ravana started to become arrogant. When Sumali found out, so Sumali is, as you remember, Ravana's grandfather. So when Sumali found out that Ravana has received these boons and he's become so powerful, he emerged from the lower worlds and he came to Ravana and he said that, Lanka used to belong to us, but now your brother, half-brother Kubera and your father Vishrava, they are living in Lanka. So he says that you should try to take this Lanka back from them. So he says that, it's not appropriate. He said it already belongs to my brother. I can go there whenever I want. It's fine. So then, and he said that it's not right for a brother to cheat on his brother. So he says, I don't think I should do that. It's fine. So you can see Ravana still had some level of piety. And why did he have this level of piety? The reason he had this piety was because his father Vishrava was a very good person. His father Vishrava was a Brahmana. And his father Pulatsya was also a very great Brahmana. So he had some Brahmanical qualities in him initially. But then because he was also the son of Keshiki, who was a demon, slowly the demon powers or demon mentality started to overtake him also. So then essentially he said that, it belongs to my brother and it's not right for me to cheat my brother. So then Sumali convinces him. He says that actually you're wrong. He says, look at the Devas, look at the Asuras. He says, we were ruling at a given time, we were ruling the heavenly planets very nicely under the jurisdiction of Bali Maharaj. So Bali, who was one of our ancestors, he was ruling them nicely. But then this treacherous and cheater Lord Vishnu, he came and he took this whole heavenly planets and all of the 3 worlds that belonged to Bali Maharaj and essentially sent him down into one of the lower planets. So he says that the Adityas and the Daityas, who are none other than brothers, he said that even they cheat amongst themselves. And especially the Adityas. Adityas are the ones who are the sons of Aditi. So these are the Devatas or the demigods. Daityas are the ones who are the sons of Diti, and these are the demons, so to speak. So he said that these guys, the Adityas are cheaters themselves. So he said, why should we have any kind of compassion for these Adityas? So he said, just take this kingdom of Lanka from him. So then Ravana sends one of his messengers, one of his uncles whose name is Prahasta. He sends him to Kuvera and he says, as a messenger, that I would like to come back to this Lanka, so please give me this kingdom of Lanka. So Kubera says the same thing. He says, Ravana is my brother. I don't have any animosity with him. He's welcome to come and live with me. But the problem is that this Lanka has been given to me by my father, so I can't just give it up like that until my father asks me to leave this place. So then he conveys this message to Prahasta, and Prahasta takes this message back. Now when he takes this message back, Vishrava was listening. So Vishrava is Kubera's and Ravana's father. So Vishrava listened, then he says that, actually Dashagriva or Ravana, he's becoming more and more powerful and more power thirsty day by day. So he says that actually because he's becoming more and more powerful and power thirsty, he says he will eventually end up killing you, or he will eventually end up taking this by force anyways. So he says it's in your best interest that you vacate this Lanka and leave and let Ravana take this Lanka. So then he says, okay, that's fine, then that's what I'll do. So Kuvera was an obedient son, so he left this Lanka and then he vacated it for Ravana. So then Ravana came and he started staying in Lanka. So now you might ask, well, we know that the Pushpaka Vimana also belonged to Ravana. So if Kuvera just emptied Lanka, then how did Ravana end up getting the Vimana? So actually what happens after that is that when Ravana is staying in Lanka, his father's prediction was right, that he would become more and more power thirsty. So now he could not even stand the sight of Kubera, because Kubera is the treasurer for the demigods. He's the treasurer in the heavenly planets, so he's very opulent as well. And he also had the Pushpaka Vimana, so he kept remembering his mother's words, that I should possess this Vimana also. So then when Kuvera goes to Kailasha, so Kuvera lives in Kailasha. So at that time, Ravana, he without any warning, he attacks Kuvera with the intention of stealing the Vimana. So when he attacks Kuvera, he essentially kills all of Kuvera's sons, he kills his ministers, he kills all of his citizens who are living there, and he injures Kuvera in such a bad way that he is essentially taken out of the battlefield. And when he's taken out of the battlefield, Ravana essentially conquers Kuvera's kingdom and he steals the Pushpaka Vimana also, and he brings it with him. So Ravana essentially became very, very power thirsty, and this is how Ravana acquired the kingdom of Lanka, and he also acquired the Pushpaka Vimana. So when Hanuman was seeing this, he was glorifying. This Lanka is very, very well built, and it's very, very well fortified. So he was worried that, he started having some thoughts in his mind, like how will I be able to penetrate this Lanka? And even if Lord Ram comes here, how will he be able to penetrate this Lanka, etc. So as he was having these questions in his mind, immediately he corrects himself and he says that this is not the right time for questioning all of these things. He says, now my motive and now my main aim is that I have to go inside and I have to go and find Sita. But then the question is that, has he ever seen Sita? He has never seen Sita. He has never, let alone a human woman, he has never seen a human woman before, let alone Sita. He has only seen Vanara women, like the only women he's seen is Tara, Ruma, wives of Sugriva, Bali, etc. So he's only seen Vanara women. So he had no idea what Sita was going to look like. And now he was in a place where there are Rakshasas also. He has never seen Rakshasas and Asuras also. So he was very much confused. So Valmiki states how he was thinking and what he predicted Sita would look like. So I'll recite this verse, it's a very beautiful verse. You will see the poetic majesty of Valmiki. So he says, Avyakta Rekham eva Chandra Rekham. So he was thinking that Avyakta Rekham eva Chandra Rekham, which means that he was thinking that because Sita is separated from Rama, he thinks that Sita will look like the moon, full moon, which is starting to wane. So you know how you have the waxing moon and then you have the waning moon. So he says, Avyakta Rekham eva Chandra Rekham. So when the Chandra starts to wane, and it slowly becomes Avyakta, he thinks that Sita might look like that. He is imagining like that. Then he says, Prasu pradigdam eva hemarekha. He says that Sita would be just like gold. But when gold becomes covered by dust, maybe that's how Sita would look like. Then he says, Vayu prabhinnam eva megharekha. He says that just like the clouds, when they are scattered by wind, they become so disheveled. He says maybe Sita might look like that. Like Sita might look like the cloud which has been scattered and disheveled like that. So he starts imagining, and he's like, this is the sign of a good servant. He starts to plan, like, what are my steps going to be? How am I going to find Sita? And then he's making a mental plot of how he's going to find Sita. So then as he's going, the first thing he does is he has to put his foot inside. Which foot does he put in? Right foot, left foot? What do you think? Left foot. Yeah, he puts his left foot. The reason he puts his left foot, as described in the Shastras, is that if you put your left foot inside someone's house first, you bring upon destruction of that house. That's what Shastra says. So that's why those who are followers of the Vedic Dharma would be careful to put their right foot inside someone's house first. So when Hanuman put his left foot inside, he put it with the intention of destroying the whole of Lanka. So as he was doing that, he noticed that slowly nightfall started. So the night started to fall. And he noticed that people were slowly going to sleep. Now the interesting thing here is that Valmiki mentions that even those who were mentally ill were sleeping. So those who were mentally ill or mentally challenged, they were also sleeping. Now why would Valmiki mention that even the mentally ill were sleeping? Like that seems like a bit of like an unnecessary statement. But you have to understand that there is nothing unnecessary in the scriptures. The reason is that, I don't know how many of you read poetry, but when we were studying poetry, there was one poet called Oliver Goldsmith, and he wrote a poem called A City Night Piece. So where he's describing the nightlife of London. And when he's describing that, he says that in London, he says London is so advanced that when night falls, everyone falls asleep except for 4 people. Who are these 4 people? Those who are meditating, those who have lost something, those who are physically ill, and those who are mentally ill. So even he mentions that the mentally ill do not sleep at night. But Lanka was so advanced that even the mentally ill were sleeping at that time. So it was a commonly understood thing that if the mentally ill also fall asleep at night, then that city is considered to be very advanced. So Hanuman noticed that Lanka was actually so advanced that even the mentally ill were falling asleep. So now he had to find Sita. So now he is running around, he's going here and there, he doesn't know where to find. And suddenly he enters into a Siddhatma. What is a Siddhatma? Siddhatma, people think it means pious soul, right? Actually in Sanskrit it doesn't work like that. Like, what is the word for village, for example? Village, grama. And what is the word for lion? Simha or Singha. So if you combine the 2 words, grama, Singha, what does that mean? What do you think it means?
Village of lions.
Lion, village of lions, or lion of the village, etc. Actually that word means a dog. Yeah. So in Sanskrit it doesn't always work like that. Like if you combine 2 words, it doesn't mean that the meaning may be exactly the combination of those 2 words. Sometimes if you combine 2 words, the meaning of those 2 words can be something completely different. So similarly, Siddhatma, actually in Sanskrit, it means the innermost quarters or the innermost quarter in the palace. So the confidential room is known as Siddhatma. Interesting. I mean, people might think that, if someone is calling me Grama Singham, it's a very good thing, like, oh, I'm the lion in the village, etc. But actually it means dog, so it's an insult. But anyways, yeah, that's an interesting thing in Sanskrit. So, so when he enters into this palace, he notices that there is a room where there are all of these females that are sleeping. Now, he doesn't know what females are, essentially. So he looks around and he sees that, they're sleeping in such awkward ways. Like, one woman has a hand on top of another woman, the other woman's leg is on top of another woman's head, and this woman's head is lying on some other woman's hand, and this woman's hand is lying on some other woman's belly. Like that, there were so many women that were sleeping around. Now, Valmiki takes his poetic liberty here and he describes one of these women. It's quite interesting. You should see the analogy that he uses. So because Hanuman has only lived in nature, so he compares these women to nature also. So what Hanuman saw, he saw one woman lying down on the bed. The way the woman looked was like a river. So like river has waves like that. So he sees a river and waves like that. On top of that river, he saw some ornaments and some golden jewelry. This golden jewelry appeared just like lotuses in that river. At the end of that river, he saw that the lady's mouth was open when she was sleeping like that. So Hanuman compares that to an alligator. So he says that it looks like there is a river, and in that river there is some lotuses, and at the end there is an alligator. Hanuman has never seen women before, so it makes sense. He was a Naistika brahmachari. So he sees women like that and then he gets confused, and that's how he describes what he saw. But he's thinking that, none of them look like Sita, none of them look like the description which I had thought about, like they look like a moon and then that moon would be waxing, etc. So he doesn't see that. So then he goes into the next room. In the next room he sees that there is a huge bed, and this bed is made out of ivory. It looks very opulent, and on the top of this bed there are multiple jewels and crystals. So he realizes that, wow, this is a very opulent bed. And on top of that, he sees a very, very large and very sturdy man who is sleeping there. So, who is that man? How many of you say Ravan? How many of you say Kumbhakarna? Actually, that was Ravan. Yeah. Why do we know it was Ravan? Why do we know it was Ravan? Because Hanuman saw 3 signs on this personality, by which he was able to conclude that this is Ravan. He saw the marks of, he saw the scars of Airavata. Airavata is the elephant of Indra. So he saw the scars of Airavata on Ravan's chest. Then he saw the scar of the Vajra, so Indra's Vajra or his thunderbolt. He saw that on his neck. And then he saw the scars of Vishnu Chakra. Vishnu Chakra means the Sudarshan Chakra. He could see the scars of that on Ravana's shoulders. So looking at these 3 signs, Hanuman was able to conclude that the only person this can be is Ravana. Because Ravana engaged in a battle. So, coming back to that story, when Ravana found out that he has grown very powerful and no one can defeat him, Ravana goes on a venture. He goes on a journey to the higher and lower planets. He goes everywhere to try and fight and see who's more powerful than him. He goes to Vali, he goes to Kartavirya Arjuna, he goes to Yamraj, he goes to the demigods. In fact, there's a huge battle between him and Indra and the demigods, in which his son also comes, Indrajit. That's when actually his son, Indrajit, won the war. Meghnad won the war, and that's why his name was Indrajit. And they end up capturing Indra and the other demigods, and they bring them to Lanka, essentially. So during this time, Ravana sustained lots of injuries, while Kumbhakarna was peacefully sleeping. So essentially he saw all of this, and he recognized that this man is Ravana. So beside Ravana, he saw one lady. Now this lady looked very effulgent. This lady was also young, but she looked around the age of maybe 30, 35 years old. She looked around that age. So, and he saw that she was sleeping very peacefully compared to all of the other women he had seen. This one looked very effulgent. And she was also wearing very beautiful jewelry and very opulent clothes. So based on the description that he had imagined, he thought that he had seen Sita. So he became very happy. So now the interesting thing is, you should look at the verse which Valmiki uses to describe Hanuman's position at that time. So what does he say? He says, Aspotaya Masa, which means that as soon as Hanuman saw that, he started clapping his hands. He became so happy. Yay, he started clapping his hands. Then he started to do Chuchumba Punna, which means that Chuchumba Pucham, which means he took his tail and he started kissing his tail. So he's clapping his hands, started to kiss his tail repeatedly. Then he says, Nananda Chikrida. Nananda Chikrida means that he became so happy, he started jumping around here and there. He started playing, yay, I found Sita, I found Sita. He started doing that. And then he started to do Jagao Jagama, which means he started to sing. Now, he was obviously not singing loud enough that everyone would awake, but he was singing, yay, I found Sita, I found Sita. Started to sing. And then he started jumping around and doing all of this. Then Stambha Arohana. He started to climb up the pillars. then Nipatta Bhumau, he came down onto the ground. And in this way, Valmiki says that Nirdashyam Swam Prakritim Kapina, which means that through this, he demonstrated that his true nature is that of a monkey. So up until now, we have seen Hanuman as a Nava Vyakarana Pandita, which means like he's expert in his scholarliness. Vayuputra Sabuddhiman, he's so intelligent and he's so opulent, etc. We've seen all of those qualities. But now he demonstrated his qualities of being a monkey because he was so happy. But then he thought to himself, because he's intelligent, again, he thought to himself, he said that if this description of Sita that I've heard from Rama is correct, how can a woman sleep so peacefully next to Ravana? So he thinks that I don't think this is Ravana. Then again, using further logic, he realized that this woman looks around the age of 30 to 35. Rama, on the other hand, does anyone know what kind of age he looked like? Like, we know, for example, Krishna looked around the age of 16. Even when he was 125 years old on the battlefield, his facial features and his body just looked like that of a 16-year-old boy. So how old did Lord Rama look?
14, 15.
Yeah, around the age of 20 to 25. So Lord Ram also looked very young. Even though he ruled for 11,000 years, he looked for like a 20 to 25-year-old boy. Or man, you could say. So Hanuman used his intelligence and he said that if Rama looks like a 20 to 25-year-old boy, how can Sita or how can his wife look like a 30 to 35-year-old woman? So he says that actually I don't think this is Sita. So because Sita should technically look younger as well. So then it's when he becomes a little bit disappointed and then he leaves that place. Now he's starting to look. So now he goes into the kitchen of Ravana actually. Now when he goes into the kitchen of Ravana, he encounters a horror sight. What does he see? He sees that over there, there's heaps of meat hanging there. What kind of meat is hanging there? It's described that he sees deer meat, deer, yeah, like the animal deer. Then he sees buffalo meat, he sees tiger meat, monkey, pig, peacock meat. He sees all of these meat. Like this is Valmiki has taken extra steps to make sure that he points out that these were all the kinds of animals that Ravana and his Rakshasas used to eat. They used to eat humans also actually, it's described. That's why it's known as Rakta Bhakshasa iti Rakshasa, which means that he who likes to drink blood of other living entities, including humans, that kind of person is known as a Rakshasa. Then what is a Nishachara? Nishachara is one who awakes at night. So just because someone is a Rakshasa doesn't mean he's a Nishachara also. Nishachara is one who awakes at night. Then what is an Asura? What's the difference between a Rakshasa, a Nishachara and an Asura?
Asura is those ones like who act against the Vedas.
Through the name, can you explain Asura?
It's opposite of Sura.
Yeah, so Sura means what? Sura means one who is able to drink the Somarasa. So the demigods are known as Asura. The demigods are known as Suras because they are able to drink the Somarasa. Whereas Asuras are the ones who can't drink that Somarasa or those who don't like the Somarasa. So those people are known as Asura. So these words are all different. They don't all mean the same thing. That's why certain words may be used for certain people. And that's why I thought it would be important to just point out the difference. So yeah, he sees that, all of these kinds of meat were present there, and then Hanuman becomes very disgusted with this whole scene, and then he leaves that place. So as he leaves that place, he comes outside, and now he's so depressed. Now he thinks that, I've searched all across Lanka, and I'm trying to find Sita, but I could not find Sita. So he thinks that I don't even know if Sita exists. Has Ravana killed Sita, and has he eaten Sita? But he becomes so disappointed. Then he says, what should I do? He says, if I go back and tell Ram that I could not find Sita, then he says, as soon as Ram will hear this, Ram will immediately have a heart attack and he will die. If this happens, then Lakshmana, when he sees Lord Ram die like this, he will die. Then when Sugriva sees this, Sugriva will die. If Sugriva dies, then Angada, when he sees this, he will die. And then if Angada dies, the whole Vanara Jati will die. So he says that, if I take this message that Sita could not be found, if I take this message back, then I will be causing so much destruction to the whole clan. He said not only on the Vanara side, if Lakshmana dies, then Bharata and Shatrughna will die. If Bharata and Shatrughna die, then the mothers will die. And then if the mothers die, all of the Ayodhya-vasis will die. So he says, my actions can bring about a very, very drastic result. So he says, I can't do that. So he said the best thing that I should do is I should commit suicide. So we had this discussion on Saturday morning also. We were talking about suicide. So Hanuman also had suicidal thoughts. He said, I can't find Sita, so if I go back and I inform them, that will cause a huge destruction. So he says that it's better that I give up my life now. If I give up my life, but then he thought about it again. And he said that, if I give up my life, then Rama will be doubly worried. Now he doesn't know the whereabouts of Sita. And now he'll send a search party to look for me also. And then now he'll have to send someone else. So then he says that, no, I can't do that also. Then he says that, okay, well, I need to start searching again. So then Hanuman starts thinking that I must have made some mistake. Then as he's thinking about that, he realizes that when I was departing on my journey, I paid obeisances to everyone except one person. So remember we were discussing this yesterday. Yeah. Oh, you have a suggestion?
Is it Sita?
Yeah, excellent. That's right. So Hanuman did not pay obeisances to Sita before leaving the Bharata Bhumi. When he was jumping across, he paid obeisances to Rama, he paid obeisances to Lakshmana, Sugriva, and all of his acharyas. But he did not pay obeisances to Sita. Now the question to ask is, how can he find Sita without the mercy of Sita? You can only get Sita by the mercy of Sita. So he should have prayed to Sita also. So that's when for the first time Hanuman prays to Sita also. So then the verse comes, Namastu Ramaya sa Lakshmanaya Devyai Chatasye Janakatmaje, which means that he essentially started to pray to Rama, Lakshmana and Sita. So then when he prayed to Sita, he got a thought in his head. So he started looking around here and there. And then he saw that there was one vana. Vana means like a little forest, which he didn't explore. This was none other than the Ashoka one. Yeah, so this was the Ashoka one. What did the Ashoka one look like? It's described that the Ashoka one had trees which were so beautiful that the leaves looked like gold and silver. Now you might say, oh come on, that's ridiculous. How can trees have leaves which look like gold and silver? Well, actually, if you go to places like Canada, or if you go like to the northern hemisphere, and if you go during a particular season, like during the autumn season, you will see that the trees have all different colors. Like the maple trees, they become golden and they become red and they become almost copper-like, you could say. So poetically, it could be described that they look like gold and brass or gold and copper. You could describe it like that. So similarly, the Ashoka tree, the Ashoka one or the Ashoka forest had trees which looked like gold and silver. They looked like they had gold and silver leaves. So then when he goes there, he notices that there are many trees here, but he notices one large tree. Does anyone know what tree that was? What kind of tree it was? Which one? Banyan tree. Yeah, people generally in Vedic culture we have this tendency, if we don't know what tree, we generally say banyan tree. Usually the answer is right, but unfortunately in this case the answer is not right. So good try.
Ashoka tree, right?
Ashok. That's a very good guess because the forest is known as Ashoka one. But yeah, it's not an Ashoka tree also. It's actually a Shimshupa tree. Yeah, so it was actually a Shimshupa tree. You can Google it, what it looks like. But that was a Shimshupa tree. It's a very beautiful tree. It has like red color fruits and red color flowers. It's a very beautiful tree. And this tree is still there in Lanka. So if you go to Lanka, you can still find this tree, known as the Shimshupa Vriksha. So he climbs this tree, and as he climbs this tree, he notices that there is a woman sitting underneath that tree. What did this woman look like? It's described that this woman she looked very, very sad. She looked very sorrowful. She had tears in her eyes and her eyes were completely red. It's described that she was crying, and then she would laugh, and then she would start crying again, and then she would laugh, and then she would start crying again. And then he noticed that this lady was very, very weak. She had lost a lot of body fat and a lot of muscle mass because she was not eating very well. So how could he tell she was weak? Because the clothes were not fitting her very well. So he could tell that she has lost a lot of weight. It looked like she was not looking after herself also because her clothes had become very worn out. And her arms and her limbs, they all had become dusty. So remember we had already discussed, Hanuman was imagining she would look like gold covered with dust. And that's exactly what she was looking like. But Hanuman still had no way of confirming whether or not this is Sita. So what did he do? Again, Vayu Putra sa Buddhiman. He was very intelligent. It's described in the Valmiki Ramayana that when Sita was going across from when Ravana was taking Sita across from India to Lanka, at that time, what did Sita do? Sita, she tore a part of her sari, and in that sari she put all of her jewelry and she wrapped it and she threw it on the ground. Then the monkeys who were Hanuman, actually at that time Hanuman, Sugriva and some of the other monkeys were stationed at that time when she threw that pot of jewelry. Then they took this pot of jewelry, and then when Ram came, these same jewelry were presented to him. So Hanuman, what he noticed that a part of Sita's sari was torn already. So using tarka, it's explained, by using logical inference, he was able to conclude that this lady is none other than Sita. So he understood that the person whom he was seeing was Sita. So now the question comes, I already described, Sita was, crying, and then she was laughing, and then she was crying again, and then she was laughing. Why was she doing that? So the commentators explain. So that's why the commentary is very, very necessary. If you don't read the commentary, you'll miss half of these points anyways. So essentially in the commentary, it explains that Sita was constantly remembering the pastimes of the Lord. So when Sita remembered that, oh, look at my husband. I remember my husband when, Kekai decided to snatch the kingdom away from him on the day of his birthday. Actually, that was his birthday, Rama's birthday. And when the kingdom was snatched from him, he did not even change his facial expression. He remained completely calm and composed. How great is my husband? So when she was thinking that, she was laughing. But then when she realized that that very husband is separated from her and that she is not in contact with that husband anymore, she became very sad and she started crying. Then she started to laugh again. Why was she laughing again? Because then she remembered that, my husband was so magnanimous and he made himself so approachable to Guha. Guha was Nishadraj. He was the leader of the tribals. So, back in the day, Nishadas were considered to be an outcast. So, let alone kings, any person of the Vedic civilization would not associate with the Nishadas. But my husband was so magnanimous that he not only accepted his friendship but also accepted his hospitality. We stayed at the house of Nishadraj. So when she was remembering this, she was smiling and she was laughing. But then she realized that that very magnanimous husband of mine is no longer with me. So when she remembered that, she started to cry again. So that's when she became very sad again. So then when Hanuman was seeing that, he started to appreciate Sita even more. Now you remember there was a question I asked last time, was that why did Rama give Hanuman the ring? He could have, if he knew that, you can say that Rama already knew that Hanuman is going to find Sita. But if that was the case, then Rama would not have wasted the time of all of the other Vanaras. But it's explained in the commentary to Ramayana that the reason why Rama gave Hanuman the ring was because in Sugriva's army, the only Naistika Brahmachari who existed was Hanuman. So, when Rama came to Sugriva, and Rama said that, I have lost my wife, and Sugriva said that I have also lost my wife, and then they both made a pact of friendship that, I will help you restore your wife, and you help me restore my wife. At that time, it's described that Hanuman's body language was showing that he did not understand what was happening. Because he was a Naistika Brahmachari. So he said that, what's the big deal? If you lost your wife, that's fine, just go marry someone else. Because kings used to do that. Kings used to marry, like Dashratha had married around 350 wives. So, and back in the day, the monkeys, the Vanaras would also marry so many people. So he was thinking that why are these two people, Sugriva and Rama, why are they so obsessed with their wives that they are missing them like crazy? So he could not understand that because he was a Naistika Brahmachari. And Ram, being an expert in reading body language and in understanding the emotions and facial expressions of people, Rama could understand that Hanuman has this doubt in his mind. So Hanuman obviously did not express it, but Hanuman thought it in his mind. So that's why Rama said that if I am to give this ring to someone, I need to give this ring to someone who will appreciate the value of this ring. So he said that I need to give this to Hanuman so that Hanuman realizes the value of Sita. So then when Hanuman saw Sita for the first time and he saw how much distress she is in, at that time Hanuman realized how glorious and how great of a character Sita is. So then he essentially goes on to describe Rama and Sita. He compares Rama and Sita. So now let's look at the comparison that he uses for Rama and Sita. He's comparing the two because he's already met Rama and he's meeting Sita for the first time. So what does he say? He says, Tulya Sheela Vayo Vrittam Tulya Abhijana Lakshanam Raghavo Varhati Vaidehi Tam Cha Iyam Ashita Ikshana. Which means that Tulya means that they were balanced. In terms of what? Tulya, Sheela, Vayo and Vrittam. What are these things? So he was saying that Hanuman was thinking that I can see that they are matched in Sheela. Sheela means character. The character was exactly matched. How was the character matched? Hanuman hasn't even spent time with her. Hanuman has spent time with Rama, but he has not spent time with Sita. But Hanuman could see that Sita was the personification of mercy. I'll tell you how he came to that conclusion also. But essentially we see in the Ramayana, like for example, Rama is described that Rama says that if anyone approaches me and tries to take shelter at my lotus feet, I will give him shelter. Even if he is my enemy, I will not turn him around. I will give him shelter, I will give him protection. Lord Rama makes this promise. Sita is also of a similar character. Sita also says exactly the same thing. So when Hanuman asks Sita that, like these Rakshasis have been bothering you, this will come in the future. So when Hanuman asks that these Rakshasis have been bothering you quite a lot, I am going to kill them right now. Then at that time Sita forbids him. She says you should not kill them. And then Hanuman says that these Rakshasis have performed lots of sins, so they deserve to be killed. So then at that time Sita says, well, everyone has performed sins. So she says that, is there anyone who has not performed any sins? And if I reject everyone who has performed all kinds of sins, then there will be no one left to receive my mercy. So she says that I will have to accept these Rakshasis also. So in that way we can see that Sheela, character was matched. So he could see that the character of Rama and Sita was matched. So there's Sheela. Then next one is Vayo. Vayo means age. So their age was matched. Now already we described to you. Does anyone remember how old was Rama compared to Sita? Like how much older was Rama compared to Sita?
4 years? 5 years?
3 years.
6 years.
6. There was a difference of 6 years. So Sita got married when she was at the age of 6. Rama was 12 at that time. How do we know this? Are we speculating? No. Actually, the way we know this is when Ravana takes the form of a Tridandi sannyasi. So Ravana, we know he took the form of a Tridandi sannyasi because he had a shikha and he took a Tridanda. And he came to the place where Sita was alone because Rama had gone after Maricha and Sita had sent Lakshmana also. At that time Ravana comes to where Sita is stationed, and at that time Sita, could Ravana enter? Because there is Lakshman Rekha, right? Yeah, no, there is no Lakshman Rekha. So for those of you who don't know, there is no evidence of Lakshman Rekha in Valmiki Ramayana. Lakshmana would never do such a heinous act of putting a rekha and saying, mother, you cannot cross this line. Yeah, he would never do that, especially to someone whom he considered his mother. So he just said when Lakshmana was leaving, he did not draw a Lakshman rekha. He actually just prayed that, I pray to the Vana Devatas, so to the demigods who preside over this forest to protect you. Who are the demigods who are presiding over that forest? It was Jatayu. So he prays to Jatayu to protect Sita and then he leaves at that time. So then when Ravana comes in the form of Tridandi sannyasi, at that time Sita invites him nicely, oh please come inside, you're a sannyasi, my husband and I we like to serve the sannyasi, so please come inside. She seated him, she gave him a pot of water to drink, then she bought a pot of water and she washed his feet, etc. And Ravana is just looking like, oh my god, what is she doing? She doesn't even know what I'm going to do, but anyways. So then she essentially served him some food nicely on the ground, and as he was eating his food, she started describing her whole story. She was saying, when I was 6 years old and when Rama was 12 years old, we got married. And then we lived in Ayodhya. We lived in Ayodhya for more 12 years. Then when Rama was turning 25 years old, at that time his mother Kekai stole the kingdom from him and gave it to her own son. And at that time he came into the forest. Now we've been in the forest for the last 13 years. We've been living with all of the sadhus and sannyasis, etc. Like she started describing to him very nicely. In the meantime, Ravana is like, okay, yeah, you keep describing. I'm going to kidnap you anyways. Yeah, so we know this through that. So from Sita's own personal account, we know that Sita was 6 when she married Rama. So that age difference was considered to be good. It's a good age difference essentially, it's described. So Tulya, Sheela, character was matched. Vayo, which was age, was matched. And Vritta. Vritta means conduct. Conduct means the way they were presenting themselves. So Hanuman could see that when Lord Ram was present in India, he was also very, very disheveled. He was also not looking after himself, and he was also following Dharma. He noticed that Sita was also following Dharma. How? He had only just met Sita. But how did he know that Sita was following Dharma? Because he saw that Sita was facing in the north and northwest direction only. She would not even look down to the south. Why? Because Lanka is in the south. So if she's facing north and northwest, that is where Rama would be stationed. So he saw that Sita was constantly just facing in that direction. So he noticed that Rama's one-pointed attention is on Sita, and he noticed that Sita's one-pointed attention is on Rama. So through that he knew that Tulya, Sheela, Vayo, Vritta. He could say that they were matched in terms of character, age and conduct. Then Tulya, Abhijana Lakshana. Abhijana Lakshana means that in their external features, so in their outward face and bodily features also they were a good match. Now if you want to understand that, you'll have to read the Samudrika Lakshana Shastra. There's a scripture called Samudrika where all the auspicious and pious characteristics of a person's body, face and etc. are described. So Hanuman quotes how they are a good match there also. So Abhijana Lakshanam is also there. But there was a difference. He noticed that there was one kind of difference between both of them. What was that difference? That difference is described by Valmiki here. He says, Raghavo arhati vaidehim tam cha iyam asita ikshana, which means that only Vaidehis or only Sita's eyes were mentioned here. So Sita's eyes were lotus petal. In that sense, Rama's eyes and Sita's eyes were not matched. But you may say we always describe Rama's eyes as lotus petal also. So Sita's eyes are also lotus petal, so they're matched. No, they're not matched actually. To describe how they're not matched, there's a very nice story about this. So about 1000 years ago, there is a temple town called Srirangam. Srirangam exists even nowadays. And around 1000 years ago, there was one devotee of the Lord known as Parashara Bhatta. This Parashara Bhatta was the son of Kuresha and he was a disciple of Ramanujacharya. So around the day of Vaikuntha Ekadashi, there is a huge festival and huge celebration that happens in Srirangam at that time. So Srirangam is a temple where the deities are Ranganath and Ranganayika. Ranganath, there is a separate temple for Ranganath who is none other than Lord Vishnu himself, and then there is another temple for Ranganayika who is Lakshmi Devi herself. So there is 2 temples there. So for Vaikuntha Ekadashi, they have a very huge celebration and very very nice festival there. On one of the days, the Lord actually dresses himself as Mohini Swarupa. So they dress the Lord in his different avatars every day. So they dressed the Lord as Mohini. This Parashara Bhatta, who was a devotee of the Lord, he would only visit the temple of Lakshmi. He would go to Ranganayika and he may or may not go to the temple of Ranganath. He only liked going to the temple there. So one day Perumal or the Lord himself, he came in his dream, Parashara Bhatta's dream, and he asked him, why don't you come and visit my temple? Why is it that you always just keep visiting your mother's temple? So he says that, well, I am very much attached to my mother, and because you happen to be the husband of my mother, I also visit you. But I really don't have any special attraction for you, he said. So he said Vishnu was a bit perturbed. He was like, I need to find out what's going on inside his heart. So what he did was, on this day of Vaikuntha Ekadashi, one day before Vaikuntha Ekadashi is when the Lord dresses himself as Mohini Swarupa. So the Lord dressed himself, so the deity of the Lord was dressed very nicely. Like he put on a sari, he put on 3 braids, so the Lord himself dresses like that. and then they used a pan or like betel leaf, and then they made like a very nice parrot, and he put that parrot in his hand, etc. And he dressed himself very nicely. So then the Lord told the chief priest, go and call Parashar Bhatta and tell him that his mother Ranganayika or Lakshmi Devi is ready to give him darshan. So he says, okay, fine, I'll go and call him. So he goes and calls him, and then when Parashar Bhatta comes, he comes and he stares at the Lord like that, looking up and down, up and down. He's trying to see the Lord. And then when he sees the Lord, he starts laughing and he starts smiling. He says that, my Lord, he says, you're a master of deception. He says that I could understand that this is not you. Oh, sorry, that this is you and this is not my mother. So the Lord becomes very startled. Like, how did you identify that? He says, you have dressed exceptionally well. He said, in one sense, you have even dressed better than my mother. You have dressed better than Lakshmi Devi. But, he says, I could understand that you are you and she is she just based on her eyes. Just by looking at the eyes, I could understand that you are not Lakshmi Devi. Then the Lord asks, what is the difference between my eyes and the eyes of Lakshmi Devi? He says that your eyes are full of anger. Your eyes look at justice. You are in the mood of the judge. You are in the mood of a king. Whenever you see anyone who comes in front of you, you try to judge, okay, you have performed these many sins, you have performed these many pious activities, therefore you deserve to be elevated, you deserve to go down. You think like that. But he says, my mother's eyes are not like that. My mother's eyes, whenever she sees anyone, the only thought that comes to her mind is, I need to give mercy. So he says that this is why I could understand. Just by looking at your eyes, I could understand that you are, that this deity is not of my mother. This deity is of you. So he says, Pranam, I am going, and then he left the temple as well. So that is why here Valmiki also makes a point to point out that Sita's eyes were unmatched. Rama and Sita were matched in every way except for their eyes. So the eyes of Sita were much more filled with mercy rather than the harsh judgment-like eyes that Lord Vishnu possesses. Of course, when Lord Vishnu is with Lakshmi, or when Rama is with Sita, or when Krishna is with Radharani, at that time Rama does not exhibit his meanness, you could say. I mean, he's not mean anyways, but he doesn't appear as a king, he doesn't appear as a judge at that time. So that's how Valmiki, you can see, that's why, that is the beauty of Valmiki Ramayana. He points out that the difference in Rama and Sita was that of their eyes. And Hanuman noticed that. No one else did. Hanuman noticed that. Yeah. So then Hanuman starts thinking to himself. So just by looking at Sita, he understood that Sita is so great that he thinks that, like I was wondering why Rama took friendship with Sugriva, why did he kill Vali, why did he send all of the troops everywhere here and there to find Sita, why did I jump across 100 yojanas to find this one woman? And then now he thinks that it's totally worth it. He says, then he also starts to imagine all of the things that Rama will do for Sita in the future. He will build the Setu, and then he will cross the ocean with the giant army. They're going to have a huge war for this one woman. And that's when Hanuman realizes that this will be totally worth it. Like, nowadays we also say, yeah, that was totally worth it, mate. Yeah. Like that, Hanuman also thought that this will totally be this woman is totally worth fighting for. Then Hanuman also remembers that Vishnu, also he churns the ocean. So, like when the ocean churning happens, he churns the ocean for her sake. He churns the ocean so that Lord Vishnu could acquire Lakshmi. But so that Lakshmi would not miss her father. That's why the Lord makes his residence on top of the ocean itself. So then the Lord gets Ananta Sesha and he lies on top of that ocean so that Lakshmi Devi can stay with Vishnu and at the same time she can stay with her father also. So this is how much Lord Vishnu cares about Lakshmi. So that's when Hanuman thinks that, okay, if this is the same Rama, if Rama is the same Vishnu and Sita is the same Lakshmi, then whatever is happening is totally worth it. Then Hanuman started to appreciate the value of Sita. So as he was thinking all of this, he notices that suddenly some noise starts coming. He notices that, there are there's a pomp of people coming and these people are fighting and they're in a very angry voice. So as Hanuman looks there, he sees that Ravana is coming. So Ravana is coming with his Rakshasas and he's coming with the Rakshasis. As he's seeing that, Sita sees that coming and then she essentially curls up. So she covers her chest and she pulls her legs close by, inside. Ravana, when he sees Sita, he smiles. And then he's about to say something. What does he say? Well, we'll find out tomorrow. Having said that, yeah, we'll finish there. So, if anyone has any questions, any thoughts, any comments, or anything which is not clear, we can clarify that now. Yes?
I have two questions.
Okay.
One is, what is that drink or food?
Somarasam.
Somarasa.
Yes? You want that?
No, I'm just saying, what is it?
You can take it later. Not provided in temple, unfortunately.
My second question. Hanuman is like the
Naistika brahmachari.
Naistika brahmachari.
Yeah, who is that?
100%.
Naistika brahmachari is a celibate, so a person who never sees or touches women throughout his life. So for his whole life he will not see or not touch a woman. That person is known as a Naistika brahmachari. Yeah. Very good. Any other questions? Yes, Madhavi?
Okay, so when you said that when Hanuman reached Lanka, he was as the size of a small cat, and he could have escaped and just went into the Lanka. Why is there a story for Lankini involved in there? He could have just, if it was as small as a cat, Lankini was as big as you mentioned, like gigantic. So he could have just missed him. And why did he not miss? And why is there a story behind this as well, or?
I mean, the only story I can think of is that Lord Brahma had promised Lankini that when a monkey will hit you on your head, at that time you will get delivered. So which other monkey would hit her? So that is why I'm speculating. So because there's no explanation given in Ramayana, there's no commentary on this section. So the only thing I can think of is that the Lord himself inspired Hanuman to go and beat Lankini in the head. Because as we know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tesham evanukam patham aham ajnanajam tamah, which means that for those who have surrendered unto me, I give them the knowledge and I guide them. So Krishna is seated in our heart as the Paramatma. He is the one who guides us and he guides all of our activities. So that is why Krishna must have, or Ram must have inspired him from his heart to go and deal with Lankini. Yeah. Nice question. Yes?
I have a question. You mentioned that Ramji married at 12 years old. But,
Child marriage, yes.
Yeah, but how, like in the movies I always see is like at least above 18 to 20 around there.
Well, he looks like 40 years old, I think.
Yeah. But then I wondered like how long did he study for in the Gokul? In the, what was it called? The Gokul.
Yeah, very good question.
Yeah.
So did Rama go to Gurukul? How many of you say yes?
No.
Yes.
No.
How many of you say no?
No.
Rama never went to Gurukul.
Vasishtha was there, right?
Yeah, because Vasishtha, his Kula Guru was
Yeah.
there, who taught him everything. So he learned everything through Vasishtha. So when he was 11 years old, turning 12, that's when Vishwamitra comes and he takes Rama to the forest.
Right.
And that's when he gives him all the weapons, teaches him Bala, Ati Bala, all the mantras, etc. Aishikam he teaches him. Aishikam is how to make a astra into a shastra. Which means like, let's say this, I take this wire. This is an astra. But if I invoke some mantra into this can become a shastra. It becomes a very powerful weapon. It becomes a divine weapon. So he taught him all of these mantras and taught him all of these things. And that's when he married Sita, when he was just about to turn 12. So he didn't go to Guru.
But what about Sita then? She was just 6 years old.
Yeah, back in the day, girls did marry before they were. This is not very new news. Like if you go back to 200 or even 250 years old, there is, even in Rajasthan nowadays, there is child marriage. So generally, girls were married when they were very young. There are many descriptions of this in the Purana. So not only Sita was married at a very young age. If you read the description of Devahuti, when she married Kardama Muni, she was also of about the same age. She used to play with her friends. She used to play ball with her friends. So they used to get married very early. But it doesn't mean that the husband and wife, they stay together. So what would happen is the husband and wife, they would get married. Then the husband would go to Gurukul for how many ever years, while the wife would stay at home and she would learn the arts to be performed at home. And then when the child would grow old, like 25 years or something like that, then he would come back and then they would reunite and they would live together. But the marriage would happen beforehand. Yeah, so that was generally the culture and that was generally the tradition.
But if you watch the Ramayana these days on the TV, it's
Yeah, they can't really show a young girl getting married, unfortunately. So, yeah, but technically, that's the problem with TV shows and with movies. They don't really depict Ramayana accurately. Even Mahabharata, they don't depict accurately. So, unfortunately, that's why actually it makes our task even more hard, because not only do we have to present the right story, we have to also cut down all of the wrong things. And there are so many wrong things that we have to cut down. Actually, if I just start cutting down all of the wrong misconceptions that people had, that itself would take up the class. I won't even have time to discuss the right pastimes which actually happened.
I think you did last time misconceptions, the class on.
Oh yeah, I did that with Mahabharata last time.
Yes.
Yeah. Then now that's why I always try to do it in Ramayana also. Yeah. Very nice. Any other questions, comments, anything anyone wants to ask? Oh yeah, we also have Valmiki Ramayana there in many languages, in English, Telugu, Gujarati and Tamil. So we have 4 different languages. So if you don't have Valmiki Ramayana, please take Valmiki Ramayana. You can follow what we're discussing as well. And we're just selling it at cost price of $20, because as you know, the freight from India is very expensive. So we're just selling it at cost price. So please take. I know many people will say I already have. Yeah, that's what we hear when we go to distribution also. So our standard response is, yeah, that's fine, you're very great, you already have one. Take one for your friends and family. Now you will say, oh, my friends and family also already have. Well, then I can't do it. Yeah. So please take that. Prasadam is being served in the next room. Vancha kalpatarubyasya kripa sindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Dear friends and